live video.
Oh.
There it is. What? Better not.
Oh.
There we are. Is it live? Okay, it is.
All right.
Hey guys. It is Rachel and Jenny and Teleria, and this is episode 9 of hashtag Real Talk with Rachel Dawn. If this is your first time joining us for Real Talk, please know this is not how I normally sound, but I am praising God that I have a voice at all, because yesterday I did not have a voice, and this morning I woke up and did not have a voice. So this is awesome. But the good news is that tonight I'm not going to be doing most of the talking. Tonight we're going to be telling Jenny's story. And so like I said on the event page, so for those of you who have kind of been with us with Real Talk with Rachel Dawn since the beginning, you guys have seen Jenny a lot. You've heard from her, you're familiar with her face and her voice, but you're probably not that familiar with her story. And so that's what we're going to be going through tonight. We're just going to be sharing more of Jenny's story. And I'm very excited because there's a lot in there.
There is. And I'm going to try to make this a half hour because that's what it's supposed to be, I think.
Okay. We're going to aim for half an hour. I like it.
All right. So pretty much how I outlined this was Rachel has questions in the back of her book.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what to write about, so I just started there. So the first question was, what was your original vision / dream for your life? How did you think life would go? So I didn't have original goal or vision or dream for my life. I didn't believe in God. So I was...
Which is interesting because you grew up going to Catholic school.
Yes,
So
which I didn't like.
Okay, great.
Yes. I don't know. I went to school, and that's what I was thinking today. I was like, why didn't I, I went to school and I took it all in, but, it never sunk in. It was, I don't even know. So I was 19. I had been dating my high school boyfriend for 2 years. So fast forward to 19, started dialysis. Everything was wild, crazy, messy. We made all the wrong decisions. And yeah, I didn't have any goals for myself. I didn't have any visions or dreams. I didn't think I would live past my 20s. I don't know. I guess without a vision or a dream.
Right, sure.
Like, how do you see into the future?
Right.
I didn't think I'd make it past my 20s, so I didn't think I'd be married or have a child. So fast forward a couple more years, 21, married, and I'm pregnant. And I still didn't have any goals, really. I just kind of followed life like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
So we built a house, married, fast forward a couple more years, and I'm getting a divorce and selling the house that we built. So that was my first now what. But...
and it was about the time you and I met.
Was it?
Like you had...
Oh, I had met your brother.
Yeah, well...
And then I met you.
Right, you were divorced, but you were still living in that house when I met you.
Oh.
So it was right around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So life was still crazy. I think that was maybe the first time I kind of thought about God. So now what? So during my divorce, I was very angry. I really didn't know what to do with my anger. I was depressed. Just all kinds of stuff was going on. I was very lonely, and there was a lot of pity parties. A lot of pity parties. So I didn't have anybody to blame. I blamed everybody. But I still didn't believe in God. And so I really didn't have anybody to talk to. Everybody did all this stuff. So I started going to... I first went to Crossroads with my sister and her husband now. And it was for the Christmas show.
Oh, yeah.
And that was kind of cool. It was nice to go somewhere. It almost felt like a little therapy session.
Sure.
And I still didn't believe in God. But, yeah. It was just I had an out to my anger. And I stopped blaming. And, it kind of felt good just to accept that it was what it was. So I kept going back because it was a good feeling to have somewhere that out for the anger and upset and all this stuff. So I went more regularly. It felt good to go there. It was something to do. I'm sure I was dating people, I'm sure at the time, but they're all the wrong people all the time. So, yeah. I went more often, and then I thought, oh, well, maybe there is a God. But that was so weird to accept. And I didn't want anybody to know that I believed in God.
Right.
So I was a closet believer. Because I didn't want to come out, say I believed in God, and then people ask questions, because I do not do controversy at all. And I didn't want to explain myself or like...
Well, and probably like your faith was so young, you felt threatened. Like if people are going to ask me questions and I had answers, then like maybe that.
And I went to a Catholic school and I still don't have answers.
That's so funny. So funny.
So, yeah, I kind of wanted to stay there. And let's see. So, I was still in that now what. Let's get to my next now what, but super quick. They're all super quick until we get to my now what here and now. I was living with mom and dad because I sold my house, and I just wanted the American dream. I wanted the big house, the 3-4 bedroom, the dog in the backyard. Like, I just wanted a normal life like everybody else lived. I guess that's what normal life was in my head at that point. Normal life. So, yeah, I just prayed, like, God, if you're there, like, hey, let's try this out. Like, this is what I want. This is what I see. This is what I want for my life. And then I met a man. I was like, yeah. And it was a 3 to 4 bedroom. It was the backyard, it was all of the things. And it was really good for a while, and then it was bad. Right. And then we started doing, I think we were on our second journey. Uh-huh. And I was exploring more with God and talking to God and praying to God. So I didn't give up on my relationship right away. Mm-hmm. I think I even went to an experience at a crossroads.
CityLink. It was the prayer.
Yes. So I went through that with you. So I was going through all these questions about my relationship then. And I fasted. Like, there was different things we had to do for this journey. And I remember sitting down in the basement, and I was just, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I just took a deep breath, and I was exhaled, and I felt like I heard, like, it's not an audible voice, but I felt like an answer was, just give it time. And that was the first time that I think I talked to God, and I felt like I had an answer. And oh my goodness, the relief, the release, it all, like, it was just like, the answers, like, I can get answers. It just felt so good, like I had somebody to talk to. So whether I believed in God or not, like, just that feeling was awesome. It was amazing. So I did. I gave it time, and we went through the rest of our journey, and
I'm gonna pause you right there before we go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So you said, like, you're with this guy, and at first, like, it seemed like this American dream, this perfect vision that you had was coming true, and then it got bad. So talk about. I mean, we don't need to rehash all the nitty gritties because every relationship has intricacies, right? Yeah. But like, what was it? First of all, like, you thought that this was like the perfect guy. So like, what do you think it was that made you think that? And then like, what was the turning point in that? And why was it that you're like, I can't stay in this relationship anymore?
What made me think it was the perfect guy? It was the American dream that I was sold on. Mm-hmm. He had a great job, he had a house. Like, those were all the things I wanted.
So you weren't seeking God for your relationship? Like,
exactly.
Hey, God, is this the guy that I...
But I wasn't really, like, I was still tiptoeing,
Absolutely.
So I didn't really know, like, I would go in and out of believing in God when I needed God.
Yeah, right.
So, I had answers, or when I needed answers, I'm in trouble. Right. Then I'd start praying and doing everything, you would be committed at that point.
Right.
It's like, when you need to lose weight, you're super committed for, like, a week, and then...
Because who doesn't do that? Like, who hasn't been in that phase of their relationship with God? Like, we've definitely all been there. Some of us hang out there longer than others.
Yes.
Some of us go in and out of there. So certainly.
And I go in and out still, but I still talk to God more regularly. Yeah. When I catch myself in the morning, like, my head's spinning, I'm like, oh, great. Hey, thanks for letting me have this day today. Like, waking up. Right. Just starting off positive. And you can do that whether you believe in God or not. wake up and just be grateful for the day.
Absolutely.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So what made you say yes initially to going to Crossroads or going to church? When was it your sister that invited you?
Yeah.
So
it was the weighted show. So it
Yeah.
was going to see the Christmas show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what made you go back? So was it just the show itself that, or what made you want to start to continue to go regularly? Like, because there's obviously a switch in your mind or something you started to see.
I like new things. Like, I like change. So I like, oh, that's exciting. It's something new.
Right.
So it was still something new. It was
Sure.
still something exciting. You know, going back for the second and third time, it was still new.
Right.
But at least, yeah, with this newness, I was also getting that. It was like my therapy sessions because I was going through a divorce and separation and all this. So
Gotcha.
I found a way to deal with. That was how I started recognizing, like, how do you deal with grief? How do you deal with, you know, not hating somebody else?
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
And, you know, asking for their life to be good, even
Right.
though, like, you really deep down inside, it's like you had to work your way through that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just became awesome to feel good inside.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's really interesting because I'm sure you're not alone. Many of us are
Right.
not alone.
Yeah.
In that. So what did you say about the judgment? What had you experienced judgment from people or for people, or was it your background that?
I was
That's what made
always
you-
super shy.
Mm.
Yeah. So I was always a people pleaser.
Right.
So that's
Right.
super weird. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right.
So you were obviously in circles around a lot of people who probably weren't believing in God. So it would have been weird, or was it just?
Yeah,
perception in your
probably.
mind. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I probably stayed around probably the more rebellious crowd.
Just one.
Yeah.
So
So then fast
yeah.
forward, you're
So-
in that relationship.
then I'm living with Rachel and Barry.
Yes. Well, so that relationship ended
Oh,
because what I remember, because you were, you still had your doubts and your questions or whatever about God, but you were very actively seeking at that point
yes, I
His will
was.
for your life.
Yes.
And that's what became the tension in your relationship.
Yes, because there was questions I asked, and of course people are going to have different opinions on God or maybe things about the church, but yeah, it was just like always butting heads.
Right.
Either, you know, like tithing
Right.
or sex or anything, you know.
Right. You guys weren't on the same page spiritually at all.
Right.
Right.
We were not.
Right.
So.
Which was very mature of you, by the way. I'm so sorry. To like walk away from a relationship at that point because like that was really the only thing that was wrong because everything else seemed kind of great.
Yeah.
And you guys started from my perspective, outside looking in, right, was that you all started drifting so much further and further and further apart spiritually, and this is the path that you were wanting to pursue,
Right.
and he wasn't at all.
Because you were also in my life more at this point than you had ever been.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and so you were, you know, going, well, if this is where I want my life to go and he's not going in that direction, then like, ooh, I can't stay in this relationship. And that's huge. Like so many people stay in relationships forever or definitely longer than they should or whatever just because like they're holding on to that dream and they're never mature enough to go, okay, we're just not on the same page, whether it's with spirituality or a myriad of other things. Yeah. And you realize, okay, like this isn't somebody that I can marry and spend the rest of my life with, so it's time to walk away. So,
Right. So we'll come back to that at the end, I guess.
yeah, sure.
Let's see. So
then
now I'm living with you.
Well, yeah, so that's a fun story. So we're in this journey group together, and you know, she's really struggling with this. Should I stay in this relationship? Should I not? And she started shopping for houses, and so what I said to her in one of our small groups one week was like, "Hey, Jenny, like your son's already coming to our house like a couple days a week anyway. Like we love him, we love you. So if you need a place to stay until you find a house of your own, if you want to move out of the place with your boyfriend, like you're welcome to stay here. Like we have extra bedrooms." So I just threw that out, like totally, like just out of the blue, like whatever, just in passing.
Yeah.
A minute, obviously, but like totally just in passing. And it was like the next week or 2 weeks later, you're like, hey, about that.
Yeah, I think I moved in like...
We're moving in tonight.
Yeah, on a Friday night.
Right.
I just moved my stuff in. So yeah, didn't believe in God, went through marriage, divorce, started going to church, started believing in God a little bit, another relationship, wanting the American dream, yada, yada, yada. That didn't work out. Still wasn't seeking God, or I was starting to seek God. So maybe that's why that ended. Now living with Rachel and Barry. Looking for a house. I thought I had matured enough, and I was ready to have my own house. And the market is crazy, so every time somebody put up a house that I liked, they would get what they asked for or more. So I really didn't have a fighting chance. I kept apologizing to Rachel and Barry because I thought I was going to be here for, 3 months.
Right.
So, and I was taking up 2 bedrooms and Barry's man cave. His gun room.
Right.
And with all my stuff. So, yeah, I kept apologizing because I was invading everybody's space at that point. But
we didn't feel that way.
It was also probably the funnest time.
Right.
Yeah. And that's when I was growing more and more. And so, let's see. I was probably here for about a year.
I was like 15 months.
Yeah.
So
Oh, all right. And there was a house that came up in the neighborhood. And I put in an offer, and they accepted my offer.
In our neighborhood.
In this neighborhood. 2
doors down.
Yes.
We were all super pumped about it.
Because we had already talked about, like, putting out an addition or building a house in the backyard.
Because we wanted her to stay that much, is the point.
And so I was really jacked. I was pumped. I was excited. I was reading more than I ever had read. I didn't like reading at all. But when you live with Rachel, you get a book for every issue you have in your life. So I read about how to get over relationships through God and spiritual adventures. I mean, you name it, there's a book that Rachel has for a situation in your life that involves God.
Right.
So I read a lot of books. So I was growing, and I was getting to know myself and who I was as a believer. So that was pretty cool because it helps your daily decisions.
Right.
How you treat others, the way the way you wake up in the morning.
Right.
It changes that. Your drive to work, it changes that. It changes how you treat others on the way to work, when you get to work. It just changes everything.
Right.
So that was cool. I like that. So I had put in a bid on this house. They accepted my offer. And then the owners were dragging their feet. So I was just pretending that the house was mine because that's what you do.
We were all pretending that the house was yours. I still call it Jenny's house when I go by. It's still vacant, by the way.
It is.
Yeah.
When I came in the neighborhood, I was like, it's still waiting for me.
I know. Literally.
So then more people put bids in, and mine was off the table, and I got really super angry. And then they dropped their offers, and then I was the top. They accepted, yeah. But then the owners were dragging their feet. So angry again. And I was cleaning a house, and I broke down. It's pretty much, he asked me how it was going, and I almost started crying while I was talking to him cleaning his house. I was like, oh, this is wonderful. So I was driving from that job, and I got so mad at God. I was so angry. And then I flipped a switch, and I was like, F you, devil. That was your plan to make me get mad at God. I was like, that's so funny. So, yeah, that's another thing I learned through my journey was how the devil attacks you, how he controls your mind. Just what the devil is and what God is, what good is, what bad is. So that was another thing I learned while I was living with you guys. I learned all kinds of stuff about my faith living in this house. So, yeah, it was really neat living here. And then I put in a offer on a condo, and they accepted that. So then we were all, I remember Rachel was like, are you sure, like, that you're supposed to have that house? And I was like, well, yeah, I believed I was supposed to have that house, and then I didn't get it. And so then I got really nervous because I felt like Rachel didn't believe that I wasn't supposed to have the condo. And we all were praying that if the condo was not for me, that God would stop it.
Right.
So, get to closing day, and I'm super nervous because I feel like I made a mistake. I was just looking for something to say that, all right, this is a mistake. And I remember we sat down, and there was 3 people on the other side of the table, and I got the condo. The guy was in jail, so his POA was at the table, and I didn't know why I was having to deal with somebody else the whole time. Right. She was sitting down, somebody else, and this guy walked in, and he said something along the lines of, "I can't believe you got such and such done. I never thought it would happen." Mm-hmm. And I was like, everything could have been stopped. Like, this could have happened, it wouldn't have been done, and then I would have been like, all right, the condo's not mine. Right. But I felt like at that point, that was my answer. Like, this was supposed to be yours. So I felt better about that.
Right. And one thing that we talked about too, and we even mentioned this in a video around that time, that like learning to hear God's voice and like be led by Him is it's challenging to do, and it definitely takes practice and discipline, and showing up regularly, and you know, spending that time with Him and giving Him that space to talk to you and those type of things. But what I have learned is that even the times where we miss it and we miss God's voice and we make a decision that wasn't necessarily where He was leading us, like He can take that situation anyway, like where we ended up, which wasn't His original direction for us. He can still make that situation amazing. Yes. And so that's what we talked about, was like, yes, you know what, like if God doesn't want you in that condo, the condo will fall through, hopefully. But like, even if like it goes through and that was not the choice that God wanted you to make, or not God's best for you, right? Because I was told many years ago that there is a good, acceptable, and perfect plan for your life, and you get to choose which one you want to follow. Mm-hmm. And so like we're constantly making to, like, God has this ultimate like end goal for us, right? He's always trying to get us there, and He's leading us there, and sometimes we take detours and He'll get us back or whatever, right? But I heard Joyce Meyer say, like, if plan A fails, God can make plan B even better than plan A was ever going to be. And so like that's what I was believing too, is, you know what, like even if Jenny maybe made this decision in haste or whatever, you know, like I know that God can still make that situation awesome. Yeah. And so that's what we talked about.
Also, when I was moving into the condo, I was also going to a new job where I was going to, like, it was my dream job, but it wasn't going to make my bank account like all dreamy, and yeah, so that was a hard decision. Gonna have a mortgage, right, gonna go to a new job that, like, it might not, less hours. It was very stressful, but I prayed the same prayer every morning. You know, Lord, I give you my fears, my anxiety, my worries, my stressors, like, you can have them. And I kind of feel like, like, you take those and I'll go on with the rest of the day. Right. So that's pretty much how I start my days. So I felt like He would take care of all of that. Right. So yeah, it's definitely somebody to lean on, having Him in my life.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And if I can't think of, you know, if I'm in a stress situation, then Rachel gives me a CD set to listen to by Joyce Meyer when I'm driving to work. Let's see.
Do you have any questions at this point?
Maybe.
All right.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Let's see. Switch new jobs. Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm more in this now. I'm in the now what. My next now what, I guess. Okay. So I'm always in a now what. Like, there's never like a wrap up to, like. There's never this like. No, here's the end of the story. It just starts like a new now what series.
We talked about that too, because you're not the first person to say
like,
that.
Season 2 of Jenny's Now What stories. Like, they never end. It's just what you learn in your now what story. Yes. Oh, I feel like I just keep learning new things in every now what story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the way. I mean, everybody learns new things in their journey of life. Right. Well, I guess maybe some people don't. They're always in the same situation.
That is true.
So you read books and listen to CDs and stuff. But,
right. So we talked about that because JD said that to me before we were about to tell his story. He was like, well, I don't feel like my now what story is finished. Like, it's still being written. And I'm like, yeah, everybody's is, right? Everybody is constantly, we're all work in progress always. And we're all still on our journeys until we're not anymore.
I feel like knowing God, though, now what, however it may end up, or my next now what on my journey there, I feel the best about my life.
Huh.
I feel like it's going in the right direction on purpose, like I'm purposely following a path.
Right.
The job I got, helping cure my sister of Lyme disease,
right.
learning, all these, I'm following my passion in health and holistic and, I enjoy my life now.
Right.
It's not the American dream.
Right.
I'm not living in the house and this and that. Like what I thought my life was supposed to look like, because I was comparing it to everybody else's life.
Right.
And you realize that your life is not like anybody else's. So you have to, that was one thing I learned. You have to stop comparing your journey
right.
to everybody else's journey because they're all different. So
right.
apples and oranges. You just, you
right.
got to stop saying, oh, they have that. Like, well, that's not your journey, so shut up.
Right.
Get over it.
Right. Yeah, that was one thing you said was one of your big takeaways, which I love, was now I'm in this season where, like, I don't care what other people think about me.
Right.
Or, like, where I am in my journey. Like, I'm comfortable with where I am and what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. How do you feel like your relationship with God impacted that and how you've seen yourself? Or has it?
My relationship with God has impacted how I feel about...
Just in that, like being more comfortable with who you are, not being...
I think God is why I feel like that. Because, if I didn't have my own journey, like that's where I learned it from. Going to church, being around Rachel and Barry, going to different Crossroads series, you learn that your life is meant for your life. Your purpose is your purpose. So without having God in my life, I would have never felt that way. And I probably would have still been depressed and throwing pity parties. And I mean, I throw them every now and again.
Right.
Let's get that straight.
That's fine. I'm going to step off screen and do some coughing.
So, but now in my life, I don't have the big house. I have a condo. But I'm grateful for that. I have little projects that I do every weekend. I'm dating a guy who encourages my faith, which is big, because that's usually where relationships would end. I mean, even if you don't agree with somebody, at least support them. So I get a lot of support, and he asks me questions about my faith, and he doesn't tell me I'm right or I'm wrong. He just likes to know what my answers are. And I think he challenges me by asking the questions.
Right.
So
because sometimes I don't know the answers.
Sure. And on the flip side, because you are, it sounds like you're more confident in who you are. Now having a relationship with God is not as intimidating to even talk about with someone who have questions for you. So it sounds like on the other side of that.
Well, that's what was part of I was like, I don't know if I believe in God. I believe in God. I don't believe in God. Kind of this. And I was believing in God, and we started dating, and then I kind of went back and forth on that again. And he's like, say you don't believe in God, or you do believe in God, whatever makes you a better person, stick with that. And believing in God was what made me feel like a better person, so stick with that.
Yeah. Okay. So what one of the big takeaways that I love about Jenny's story is, like she said, like she feels like she's constantly going from one now what moment to another. And the definition of a now what moment is this totally life altering, dream shattering, like everything falls apart, you feel hopeless, you don't know what's going on. Obviously, like moving in with us and like basically starting over again, like after going through divorce, like that's a very similar situation, right? But yeah, we're all always still writing our stories. And Barry said that to me too. For those of you who have read my book, Now What, in the back is other people's stories, and Barry's, my husband, is in there, and he said the same thing to me when he was writing his chapter. He's like, well, I don't feel like my story's done yet, so I don't want to put it in there. And I'm like, well, that's what brings hope to the people who are going to be reading it, because I think it's actually more distancing to feel like, oh, that person like already went through everything and everything's perfect for them now, and their life is just tied up in a perfect little bow and it's finished. Because that never happens for anybody, just in case you're wondering. So that's not really a thing. So understand, like, if you've gone through something that's huge and life-shattering and life-altering, and now you've made it to the other side, and you're still struggling with things, like, that's totally normal, and that's totally okay. And so, yeah. So has anybody posted any questions for Jenny? Okay. So so thank you for commenting. If you haven't already, share the video to your page. That way people can tune in. But yeah, and comment, tell us, hey, if you have questions for Jenny, by all means, post the questions. But I have some questions. So why is your Insta name Little Nikki? Like, I need to know. Why? Because none of your names are Nikki.
I know, but have you ever heard the Prince song?
No. Tell me about this.
Do you listen to Prince?
No.
Alright, it's not a very good song. It's just never been, I never get on Instagram anymore, so I haven't changed it.
Okay.
But it was a crazier time in
so
my life.
Confusing to me. I couldn't find you at first, and then I found somebody whose name was Little Nikki that looks like you, and I'm like, none of her names are Nikki.
There's still past that haunts me, like I still have my email address as when I lived in the past, and you can't put that on professional like resumes. So I had to get like a Jenny Walker RN or something that was
Right. Oh, lucky one is not. It's not really.
Well, that was when I was going through my divorce. I was like, oh, lucky one, everything. But then it turned into like this. Oh, I'm lucky. Like I started to feel better about my life, so I just kept it. But yeah.
Okay.
Always an explanation.
My next question. What kind of pants are the best pants?
No pants.
Yes.
We don't wear pants in this family.
Hashtag nobody likes pants. It's totally okay to say out loud because we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
That question was submitted by a viewer ahead of time. We won't disclose who that viewer was.
Etta?
No. So, do you have any more questions?
I do not.
Okay, we're at the half an hour mark, which is when Jenny wanted to wrap up. So, I'm just trying to think if like there are any more like teaching points or takeaways. I love that your story has had so many touch points with God. And to me, like, it's so funny how, like, when we go through things, it's really easy to feel abandoned by God and to question, like, is he real? Like I've definitely done it before. But in hindsight, you can see how he was with you all along in different places that he was. And usually people looking from the outside in can see those things really clearly for you too. It's so obvious to me the way that God has had his hand on your life in every one of those phases. And I think you can say what you need to say in 1 second.
All right.
I think that's one reason it's so important that you have some sort of mentor in your life, like somebody who can see like from the sidelines and can see things that you can't see. I think that's definitely important. I have mentors for like every area of my life. Like I have a mentor for speaking, I have a mentor for writing, I have a mentor for my marriage, I have a mentor for my business, I have, you know what I mean, like all these different things. I have spiritual mentors. And so yeah, I think that's important.
Well, being a younger believer, for all of you out there, when you have the times where you feel you're alone, that is where the devil wants you to be isolated.
Yes.
So that was also one of the things I learned in many of my journeys. So share your story with other people.
Right.
That's why you should have a mentor, because then it's somebody like Rachel that says, yeah, well, that's where the devil wants you to be, is isolated.
Right.
They want you to be by yourself. Don't share your story because then nobody can relate.
Right.
And
And he wants you, with you, I feel like a lot of times, and we talked about this before when we were kind of planning things, was he would make you feel like, well, I'm not as far along as everybody else spiritually, and I'm not as developed.
Right.
And like I feel so lacking in these areas.
Right.
So that would make you want to pull back and isolate.
Right.
So
and
any-
that's generally how I feel when I get on these conversations.
Well, so like just know, like any time that you're hearing the voice that tells you you're not good enough, or you're not doing enough, or you aren't enough, or whatever, any voice that you hear that makes you want to pull away and isolate yourself from other people who, on your clearer thinking days, you know are going to be good influences for you, just like understand and recognize that those are lies, and that is the enemy coming at you. And we've talked spiritual warfare before in other videos, so you can go revisit those. But yeah, just understand that any of those type of voices are lies. And when you feel like you want to isolate, that's the time that you should go be around good, positive,
Right.
influential people the most.
Right.
For sure. Anything to add to that?
Boom.
All right, guys. I appreciate you watching with us tonight. I apologize for this hot mess going on in my throat. But we will catch you guys next month, and it'll be episode 10. And Tay, are you going to share your story?
Okay.
If I had you,
I'll
I'd
put you
too.
right on the spot.
I mean, we hadn't discussed that
No,
thing.
we hadn't.
The
Right
next
there.
thing.
We
But
have-
I mean,
We can
I guess
put
if I'm being called out.
we can put somebody else in between. At some
Wait.
point, you're going to get
Well,
to
I
your
think
Tay's
I think
story.
it would be nice. I would like to hear Tay's story because I feel like
There's a lot.
There's
There's a lot.
I just feel like I feel like here as a believer, and then I see like Rachel and Tay like. So it'll be nice to hear stories.
Hold on, let me just be clear though. What would that date be? Let's talk about that.
Oh, well, we'll put a date on the calendar. We'll make sure it works
Oh
for
my
everyone.
word. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotta mentally prepare myself.
This is
Would that be
awesome.
the last Sunday of the month?
We
If that's,
usually do it the
if
last
that's
Sunday.
Memorial Day Sunday, I will be
Oh yeah, we'll
driving back
we'll
from
both be gone Memorial Day.
Minnesota.
So we'll get a date on the calendar.
Just
You're
saying.
gonna get to hear more from
Planning.
Tay, and it's gonna be awesome. So, you guys have a good night. Thanks for joining us. # Real Talk with Rachel Dawn, and we'll see you guys soon.
See y'all.
Bye.